Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to Shop Talk. We got a great set of questions tonight, so I'm going to be joined by my co-host Glenn immediately, and we'll jump right into them. Glenn, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Dave.
Good to hear it. All
ready to go.
Let me have it. What do you got?
Okay, we got two episodes, one in the garage and one in the attic. So we're going to start with Charlie Dobby. It's a silly question. Given you really have to log into Windows with a Microsoft account these days, do you need to set up two Microsoft accounts for your limited and administrator accesses?
No, the built-in administrator account is a local account. You can't use it as the only account. You can't get around the Windows account requirement by just using that account anymore because you need another account to get to it. But long answer, no.
Okay. So I think so there's two things he's getting at there, I guess. One is sort of logging into the machine. The other one is a Microsoft account. You only need one Microsoft account.
Yeah. If you
Right.
What he's asking is if you want to run a limited and an administrator account, you need a limited Microsoft account and a limited administrator account. And no, you can use the built-in administrator account. And we'll get more questions about this later, so we'll get more details on the admin account coming up.
Yeah, yep. Philip Smith, he follows up. I've always used the admin account by default. I want to change this, but how?
Create yourself a new account called Bob. Make Bob an administrator account. But now when Bob tries to do anything, assuming your name is Bob, actually I missed
Philip
the guy's
Smith.
name.
Yeah,
Philip Smith. Maybe call your account Philip then instead of Bob. But so when you logged in as Philip, and you do anything like try to set up a program or use admin rights anyway, you'll get a UAC prompt. And the difference is if you're running as a default admin account, you don't get a UAC prompt. You just do it. So there's no protection there. So you don't want to run as the built-in admin account for that reason.
And just to, again, sort of even more clarification. So in my case, I've only got one account set up. I'm running Windows 11. It's Glenn. And that is the administrator. What I would do in that case is...
Well, no, it's not the administrator. It's an administrator. And
yeah,
I'm not being pedantic because there is actually an account called administrator. But to turn it on, you have to go into PowerShell, run like net user /active yes. I forget the exact syntax because I don't think you should do it anyway. But you could enable the built-in admin account. In Windows 11, they've hidden it, though.
This admin stuff. So on my machine, I'm the only person who uses my computer. I have one account that's called Glenn. It right now indicates that Glenn is an administrator. Under Windows 11, there is an actual administrator account, admin account, but it's hidden from me. So if I want to protect myself from my own stupidity, which should be obvious to everybody who watches this, do I take my Glenn account and remove it from being an administrator?
No, as long as you trust yourself to read the UAC prompt that you will get when you're running as Glenn. But if you had enabled and were running as an administrator, you wouldn't even get a UAC prompt. It would just do the damage without asking.
Okay. And I would think then as well, if I wanted to somehow protect myself because I didn't trust myself before I actually removed the admin privileges from my main account, I'd want to make sure I knew how to log into the admin account. And I'd have to probably enable that through PowerShell first, would I?
Yeah, but there's no need to, and I discourage you from doing it. So.
Okay, so just on Windows 11, if you've got one person in your user, you should be fine.
Yeah. Now, even on my old PDP 1183 from 1983, there's a root account on the BSD Unix, and there's Dave account. But Dave is a member of, I guess it's Wheel, which is the admin group, and I'm allowed to sudo. So I don't log in as root, I log in as Dave, and when I try to do anything administrative, then I run sudo, or sudo, I guess, depending on how you like to say it. It makes more sense as sudo, but I still say sudo. And you can do that under Windows. There is now a sudo command under Windows, and the UAC prompt gets you a long way there. So it's very much the same where you're not going to run as root all the time.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Vintage Fenrir, you said we shouldn't. You said we shouldn't be. You said we should be sure we didn't activate BitLocker on setup, but how do we check?
I believe you go into settings, control panel, and then drives. And if there's a BitLocker option under there, and if BitLocker is active, or just search for BitLocker in settings, it'll show you all your drives and which ones have BitLocker enabled on them.
Okay. Yeah, and we're going to get into a few BitLocker questions that got a lot of folks' attention. Nathan Russell says, the second that you said, are you sure, I double-checked BitLocker and it was on. Just backed up my key. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
One happy viewer for sure. Camera Shy then pipes in, says, how does one determine if Microsoft installed BitLocker on the sly?
On the sly. Well, it was probably not. I don't know. I don't own a Microsoft laptop, and I think it might be on by default on a laptop for good reason. I do have a machine with a TPM running Windows 11, and I don't believe I have BitLocker enabled. So at which point could I have accidentally turned it on? I'm not sure. I assume during setup initially, but maybe because I did an upgrade, they don't offer BitLocker during upgrades. And so I don't know the scenarios in which it will bump you to BitLocker by default, but I believe they do exist. So you just want to be careful and make sure that if you do enable BitLocker, that you do the key backup and so on.
Yeah. And there's a few more coming on this with a bunch of very different.
Yeah, I'm not a BitLocker expert because I don't use it, but I'll take my best stab at it.
Yeah. So Galactic Minx says, and again, this is early in the thing, says, isn't the main point of BitLocker to prevent unauthorized access to your data if the device is lost or stolen? So in that situation, having the recovery key won't help.
Not going to help you. No, it won't get your data back. It's gone.
Yeah. So again,
you're going to have a backup for that.
Yeah, and that's what it says. The bigger mistake, in my opinion, is not having backups, which I think is the core. Yeah. That's number one.
I was less concerned with you losing your data than somebody else getting a hold of it. And it's BitLocker's purpose to prevent other people from getting a hold of it, even if they steal your drive. Because they can have the drive. They've also got your TPM with the secrets inside, but they're missing one more piece, which is either your Face ID or your Windows Hello key or your PIN or whatever you've got to secure it. So it's like 3-factor authentication, basically.
There you go. And Nin Gayetti, yet another sort of test your BitLocker knowledge. I have decrypted my BitLocker drive. My question is, if I ever decide to re-encrypt, will the same key be generated by BitLocker? Will a new unique key be generated?
I've never done it. I'm going to guess that for security reasons, you will always get a new key. But it's possible that for convenience reasons, they reuse your old key they knew you used last time. But I'm sure they wouldn't do that without disclaiming it or explaining it.
And the difference there, I guess, is the decrypting your BitLocker drive. So, because I mean, we had a machine at work that kept on locking continuously, but we kept putting in the same BitLocker key to unlock it.
Okay.
Are they talking about something different where they've decrypted their BitLocker drive and now it's going to generate?
Yeah.
A new
So
one,
they've had a BitLocker drive. They turned BitLocker off, decrypted the drive.
Re-encrypted.
Now they turn BitLocker back on, and it re-encrypts. Okay. Does it use the same key? And my postulation, that I can't check right now, but my guess is no.
Okay, excellent. OXF Stephen, on the BitLocker point, if I were to install a new M2 and Windows 11 into a laptop that I've taken a Win 10 encrypted, what's this M.2? I'm not sure what he's talking about there.
SSD. It's an interface form factor for the
SSD.
sticks of SSDs.
Yeah. So he's got a new M2 and a Windows 11 on a laptop, and he's taken a Win 10 encrypted M2 out of. Does the Windows 11 install reset anything in the device TPM that would prevent him from swapping out the M2s and going back to Windows 10? And would the recovery key still work?
I believe
you follow
if you have the recovery key, yes. Definitely you want to make a couple copies of your recovery key in that point, because you're going to have the drive, no TPM, but the other secret. And so you need all the pieces, right? And having the recovery key will get you your data back. Now, I don't know, so I'm not going to speculate on whether or not messing with Windows 11 changes TPM states in such a way that would invalidate your memory or your disk if you put it back in later. I bet it doesn't, but that's pure speculation, and it's something you would want to not test really so much as guard against the reality that it probably might happen and back up your key. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When you're moving drives from Windows 10 to Windows 11 and back,
Well, it's a good question because, you know, the drive, if you took it out and put it back in, it should work. But if you took it in, put it in a different drive, ran a different operating system, did some monkey magic, and then came back and put your original one back in, does it still work? And I don't know. I'm thinking it probably would, but.
And Zirian, he says, store it in your Microsoft account? What happens if that account gets compromised? Or Microsoft gets hacked and all your data, including your BitLocker key, is pasted all over the dark web? Microsoft can't guarantee that will never happen. No one can. No online account storage is foolproof. In fact, with no digital storage is safe. Anything can happen to your drives or even the drives the cloud provider you use. You always have to make backups upon backups, so the old ways are the best for mission-critical data. Hard copies and info stored in your head.
Yeah, and I want to stress again that the recovery key in no way restores your data if something happens to your drive or your drive fails or you erase your files or you do anything like that. It's strictly to unlock the drive in the event that your other secrets are not available. What was the other gist of that question?
I think it's just the backup stuff, right? And
yeah.
I think, again, that's why there were like 5 things you had to do. One was still backup, and the other one was the BitLocker. So they're 2 separate things. They're not one or the other. You got to do all 5. Yeah. Especially.
Oh, he did ask though, what happens if like the Microsoft account gets compromised somehow and they steal the key? And that's fine. They could leak your keys and post them on Reddit. Unless the guy comes to your house and then steals your hard drive, you're not at risk.
You're probably still okay.
Yeah. And if it happens to everybody, well, you'll have a couple of days and they'll fix it and patch it and, make it work properly again. And so you'll have a couple of days of insecurity where if somebody broke into your house and stole your hard drive, they could probably crack it, but not
the law of large numbers says you'll probably be fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Joe Hamlin, doesn't Active Directory store the BitLocker recovery key?
Active Directory? What is this, an office?
Well, and then he goes on to say, everyone runs their own Active Directory, right?
No, I never have. Well, I ran, I guess, what do you call it when you have a domain controller under Windows 2000? That's the last thing I ran. I don't know if that's Active Directory. I think it is. But, we had a domain controller, a backup domain controller, a SQL machine, and a couple of databases and web servers and stuff. So it wasn't a very extensive network. We had 30 employees and stuff. So there were lots of accounts, but they all actually logged into one single machine, which I still have this day, and ran terminal server. So you'd have like 30 people logged into one machine.
But each of their individual machines that they're using would have had a BitLocker if you had an Active Directory set up for it, right?
It could have, but the machines were not joined to the domain, I don't think, because they were just basically dumb terminals. They were cheap little Dell boxes that I had for years after I sold the company, and I had like little Stonehenge built out of them and stuff. Because they're like gray, right? So I arranged them all, took photos. Yeah. I was bored one day. And so I don't know much about Active Directory. I don't know if it stores your key. I bet it does.
Okay.
If you ask it to.
We'll do couple more BitLocker ones, then we'll move on. So people again saying, well, my key is saved in the Microsoft account and no one notified me, and they sort of
I don't think anybody would ever run a service like BitLocker or any of those encryption things where they as a company were exposed to people losing their key. Could you imagine staff in the 800 number where all day long you got to tell people, sorry man, your data's gone. It's just gone because you didn't back up your key. But no, because they do back up your key to the service, you at least have some recourse. Now, hopefully there are options if you have a really high security application where you don't even want Symantec or Microsoft or whoever to have a backup of your key, that can be disabled, which I believe it can in the Microsoft case. I don't know about the other cases, but the default is to save it, then I think it's a good idea.
Severe Mark II. This is the last BitLocker one, I think. Isn't BitLocker relatively easy to bypass?
No, you have to snapshot the machine and you got to snapshot memory. And if you're lucky, you can capture the machine in a state where the key is in memory, the recovery key. Now, how and when that happens, I'm not a devious black hat hacker, so I haven't invested the time to look. But if you could get, had an in-circuit emulator or you were emulating a PC and you were debugging it that way, then you could inspect the state of the machine and say, oh, that's where the BitLocker key is stored in memory, and so I can steal it. But again, you've got pretty good access to the machine at that point, plus the guy has to be logged in with that other secret. So you have to have a couple of the items, right? You got to steal the drive, you've got to crack the BitLocker key, and probably know the PIN, unless you get the recovery key. And now I don't think the recovery key is stored anywhere in plain text, even in memory, unless the guy has entered it. So
again, pretty rare error. Toasty answers. So BitLocker, I guess this is the last one. BitLocker was not required when I upgraded Windows 11, but my company used Intune to require drive encryption when using company resources. Is this legal or standard practice to require for a personal device?
I've never heard. I think my personal take is if they require that you run a particular environment, they should be providing the laptop on it, and you should have a work laptop, and you should get your own home laptop for home stuff. I don't think they have I guess if they can say that, we don't want you connecting to our network without meeting certain security requirements, but they should probably help you meet those if it's part of your job duty to do so. That's my hot take.
Yeah, we're not allowed to. Our network won't accept anything but a corporate machine.
Right.
Does not work. So, R7 Boat Guy, where do you access the smart info?
You can do it through PowerShell, but the easiest thing that I recommend is Crystal Disk Info. And it's a third-party app, been around forever, shows you all the smart parameters you could ever hope to or want to see. There is a simple way to get it in Windows, but I know it's deprecated now, and I forget the actual command, but it only tells you like healthy or dead. So you need more data than that to make any real decisions. And Crystal Disk Info is what I recommend for that.
Excellent. Tommy 2 cents. Install updates overnight? What kind of person are you? My computer's off at night. The reason why notifications are switched off is because Microsoft thinks that the average user just loves to inspect all those obnoxious and unexplained and confusing notifications.
I leave my computers on 24/7 because I live by a hydro dam where water runs downhill and makes free electricity, and then it powers everything. And the more electricity you use, the more water runs downstream for the salmon, I figure. I'm doing my part.
Doing your part.
I'm sure my logic is inscrutable.
Help. Not a guarantee. Sargonis. Great video. What about apps like HWinfo 64 or Ada 64? Those need kernel level access and admin rights. Besides making sure to download at proper sources, are they indisputable security risks and should not be used? Are monitoring apps simply bad?
Is it true they need kernel access? Because I run Ada 64 to drive my VFD display that I built for my PC case. Now, I might have installed a driver to make it work, or maybe it installed a driver, but it would have to be a signed driver. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, I mean, if you're going to run tools that need intimate access to the deep internals of the operating system, you're going to have some trust in them, because if you're granting that. Now, what I would rather see is that Microsoft expose all that information in a way that's visible from user land, and that's probably a better solution. But time will tell.
Time will tell. Clint, 1578. Hey, Dave, thanks for the tips. On your video for WSL, you mentioned that it supports other Linux distributions other than what's online. I was wondering if you're planning on covering that sometime in the near future?
Didn't have any plans to cover it, but I've been playing with it. I'm running Mint on one, but they're all kind of the same, right? It's just like if you had a big grid that had checkboxes for rows and columns for which OS, it's like which features and which one. Well, that would be handy, but I've never seen quite such a list. But, you pick the features you need and use a distro that comes with the features you want.
There you go. Raku 235. Wish you had a Discord set up. I'd like to get connected to people who have similar interests. I wanted to know your opinion on cloud DevOps. What do you think? Is it a good job option right now and in the future? Is it something worth investing in? So cloud development opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's not at risk from AI in the way that some of the other things are in the industry. So, but I'm not really intimately informed on that. So I would say, yeah, go to my Discord, which does in fact exist, and it's free and you can sign up, and just Google Dave's Garage Discord. I'm sure you'll find it. And yeah, we'll see you there.
Okay. Jacko Oosthuizen. Why do Windows haters watch Windows videos? Some of the comments are just stupid. If you use Linux, watch Linux videos.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys that uses both. So
yeah,
it doesn't concern me too much. I mean, obviously I'm partial to Windows having worked on it, but even as such, I realize there are applications for Mac OS and Linux and Windows, and that's why I use all three as part of my daily workflow. So I'm not religious about any of them. If I was gaming, I'd still probably run Windows. And if I was running just SQL Express, I would probably run it on Linux exclusively. But I'm not doing just one thing. So if I was only running Final Cut, I'd be on a Mac all day long. But that's not my life.
And the comments, and boy, it's funny. I mean, there's some strong Windows haters, some folks who are anything but Linux, and they're all over throughout there. And I sometimes wonder, well, similar to the thing of like, if that's how you feel and you don't like them, why do you feel compelled to leave a comment that you don't like that? But it's, hey, people got to sort of preach what they believe in, and this is a venue for them to do that, and they do it, and it's a quote unquote free world. So knock yourself out, eh?
Do we have questions from the Windows 5 mistakes episode?
Yep.
Okay, because I noticed the one comment that I kept seeing come up in the comments was well, the first mistake is running Windows. And only about 800 people made that comment. So,
Well, that's why I only submitted to you about 80 questions for review, because I cut out about 800 of those ones. I was like, yeah, I'm not asking that question. But yeah, that was the most common question. Was the first problem was installing Windows. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. The classic. And it was funny every time they did it. Man, I just laughed. Yeah, laughed and laughed. So now we're going on to the blue screen, no more Windows
Before
blue
we go
screen
on,
one.
I've
Yes, sir.
got a random Family Guy anecdote. Stewie goes back. Have you seen this one where Stewie goes back and he meets Leonardo da Vinci and tells him his name is, the guy, Leonardo says, Stewie? He says, that's my name. Don't wear it out. And Leonardo laughs and Stewie goes, oh yeah, that's right. That's the first time you've heard that. I always like that, go back in time and drop these old hackneyed phrases that people are like, oh, that's awesome. How'd you think of that?
Yeah. Man, those dad jokes are just, you could get a whole routine going on those.
You could, yeah.
People would be killing themselves laughing.
All right, blue screen question. Sorry to interrupt.
Blue screen of death, the Steichen family. I'm sure it was just one member from there, not the whole family, but maybe they all do. I've had a problem with constant blue screen of deaths, roughly 1 per hour with heavy use. Will the new system do anything to diagnose hardware problems?
No. So you're going to have to sort that one out on your own, but it's probably almost certainly a driver issue, or if it's not like your video card driver, which it probably won't be if it's like NVIDIA or a mainstream driver that's updated. I'm sure you'll be fine with that. Hard drive, maybe your drive is starting to go, and when it's trying to page in data, it fails. I'd have to see the blue screen to be able to kind of give you a little more guidance on what's actually causing the blue screen. And then the last would probably be bad RAM. And so I don't know if there are any really good mem tests. There's memtest x86 and stuff that I assume will do a pretty thorough workout, and I assume they can access all your RAM. But I would check the hard drive smart info with Crystal Disk Info. Look for anything in red in your case if you want to make it simple, and then run a memory test on it. And I bet you one of those things turns up a problem. So.
Nice. That'd be great if they did that stuff and then got back to us, let us know.
Yeah. And if those don't find anything, I would literally just clean format the machine, save your data, but wipe it, start over with Windows and as few third-party drivers as you can.
Right. Excellent. I'd be really curious to see how they make out with that. That'd be great. I'd like
let us know.
Yep. Paul Bishop says, why is my blue screen of death now green? Oh, I know. He's colorblind. Oh, no, that's me. Sorry. Yeah.
No, if it's green, that means it's not ripe yet. That's all. It'll be blue in time.
Or black?
No. Yeah, it'll be black eventually if you wait long enough, like a banana. No, it's Windows Insider builds have a green screen so that when you see a green screen, oh yeah, it crashed, but it's not an official release of Windows. This is an insider preview build. And I don't know the exact rationale for making it a different color, but it is to identify that it is an insider preview build.
Okay. Here's some old Windows testing for you. VMAX says, when did BSOD become an acronym?
I don't know, because we didn't call it that internally. We didn't really call it a blue screen or a blue screen of death. It was a bug check. Because that's the API internally you call to make the machine blue screen is bug check, I believe. You don't do that. That's something the system does in terrible situations. But yeah, BSOD came after I left Microsoft. Whether it entered the culture after I left, 2003, or I just never heard it, I don't know.
Yeah, and did it originate from
Graph where the
Google Graph?
Yeah, you can go to Google and you can search words and it'll show you how frequently they're used in literature and online and stuff. And so you can go back, you would think the word shenanigans, that sounds like 20s or 30s, right? But no, it's like 90s is when that word broke out. So
really?
Stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, I thought that went back to the leprechauns in Ireland or something. Weren't they up to shenanigans all the time? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Stealing my gold.
I hear they be stealing me gold. The other thing with that, I'm curious is, we won't know. Did that come from inside of Microsoft and get outside, or was it a term that came up
that sounds
outside
like something
of
a journalist
Microsoft?
or a magazine is called.
Yeah.
The blue screen of death probably happened online, I would guess. Somebody said it once online and it stuck. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question.
Okay. The other thing VMAX adds at the end is, how do you pronounce it as a word? I don't think you do.
BSOD.
Right. Yeah. That's beside the point, right?
There you go. BSOD.
No egg for you. 2 minutes into that, he says, and he quotes you, and the irony is, it wasn't even Microsoft's bug. And he says, technically true, but it was 100% Microsoft's fault. Microsoft executives gave Ring 0 access to a third party, an agent of Microsoft by any other measure. Microsoft gave it their blessing, which makes it Microsoft's fault. Dave, if you give someone access to your computer lab and they wreck your lab, then whose fault is it? Microsoft's executives were nuts to grant kernel access to anyone outside of the kernel team. You yourself had to jump through hoops just to have them acknowledge that their code was responsible for Task Manager exceeding 100% CPU usage. Even then, the kernel team fixed it. They did not give you access to the kernel to fix it.
I had access to the kernel. Don't worry about that. I added APIs to the kernel.
That's just a detail. Come on. Don't take all this fun away.
No, and the problem is that the reason the Microsoft does or had to allow companies to put code in Ring 0 is because you have to have them be able to load drivers. I mean, Linux has the same issue. Drivers model is slightly different, but you can run code in the kernel in Linux as well. The problem is that to do it, you need either to go in the kernel and do it yourself, or you need Microsoft to expose a uniform API that everybody can call. So that's what Microsoft wanted to do. We'll expose this all in user land, but some companies got upset because hey, that was our business. Only we knew how to do that. Now you're going to make it public. And the EU said, no, you can't do that. That's anti-competitive because then there's only one vendor of security interfaces or something weird like that. So they were prevented from doing the right thing by the courts and the EU. And I don't think you can just do it in America and not let that code leak out to the EU type thing. So they probably couldn't do it in any event, but they tried. They tried like a valiant soldier, but they were just denied. Yeah,
and that's not the American way, to just do it for America and let the rest of the world sort of suffer for, you do it on your own. You're on your own. Werewolf,
no
2,500. I'm trying to bait you for no good reason. Werewolf 2,500. So with passkeys, you still end up with a password at some point, right?
Well, it could be a password. It could be a retina scan. It could be a fingerprint. It could be a PIN. There is some other factor, but what that factor is can be any number of things.
Yeah, because he says you need a password for your Apple account or Microsoft account or whatever passkey provider you're using so that you can log into that system, get access to your passkeys.
Well, like a proctologist, this is all I need because I have a fingerprint scanner on my MacBook. And every time I get a passkey prompt, I just hit the fingerprint scanner to prove it's me, and I'm in.
So it's that you need, or this?
This.
You actually use that for your fingerprint, not this with thumbprint?
Yeah. You're weird. What do you register your thumb and you're
I'm still Canadian. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Well, I'm still rocking my old iPad. Well, whatever the first iPad Pro is, and it's got the thumbprint on it. I guess it's fingerprint.
You ever see the old Dilbert where the boss comes in and his laptop has crashed again, and Dilbert explains you got to hold it upside down and shake it to reboot it, and then he walks away. He's like, he hasn't figured out we gave him an Etch-a-Sketch for a laptop.
Oh man. Yeah.
Something to that effect. I'm probably ruining his joke, but it was pretty
good. Good old Etch-a-Sketch, man. Some people are really good with those too.
You can try and you can try and draw boobs, but they always come out square. That's also a Family Guy reference I should qualify. It's not just some random thought that popped into my head that I had to say out loud.
I was trying to process. How do I respond to that? Do I respond? I think I'm just going to... So I didn't intentionally wait. I froze for a second.
Okay, for context, for context, there's two FBI agents that are like roommates or something, and they're arguing all the time. And that's what the one guy says to the other guy to get him mad. I'm going to go use my Etch-a-Sketch. He goes, yeah, you can try and draw boobs, but they always come out square.
Oh, I'm here just for the Family Guy and Simpsons references. So probably not as you said, probably not the only one. I shouldn't be saying that. William Riker, quote, "There's a problem. Click OK to search for a solution." And now it's going to do that automatically?
Yes. And I can do that automatically because it never has ever found a solution. So it's just a function that says return 0, I bet. I have no idea, but I've never had that thing actually find a workable solution. So I hope it's more than that. And I really do suspect that it is. They're going to, reset the machine. If it comes up in a boot loop, maybe they roll it back. Maybe they go back. They have a bunch of contingency plans for what to do with your machine if it can't boot. What those are, I don't know yet because I haven't seen the full thing. But.
Right. Yeah. Lord Chariot, speaking of NTFS, what exactly is in the system volume information folder?
Microsoft Bob. That's where I keep all the copies of Microsoft Bob. No, volume snapshots, everything that's proprietary or special to NTFS basically hides in that volume or in that folder. And it's really just a folder that is a way of storing it in the structure. But things like the shadow volumes are stored in there, all kinds of stuff. But everything that's NTFS specific.
And
so don't mess
Bob.
with it. Don't delete it.
Yeah.
And Bob.
And Bob. Poor Bob. This is a bit of a long one here. Mojeda. I've always wondered why Microsoft had not adopted the Linux kernel. It's more stable than the Windows kernel. Says, as for software compatibility, moving forward with the times with a modern solid OS, opening up other profit streams, selling software for Windows, Linux Core, and mainstream Linux users. My first machine was the Commodore Amiga A4000T. 2 years on an XP. 7 was a blue screen nightmare. Didn't like 8.1. Moving to Linux was a learning curve. I've been happy with Arch Linux. For the last 10 years, I've had no blue screens whatsoever. Just a nice, stable environment that's only frozen about 6 times due to bad system memory that's easily replaced. They don't have the Linux kernel because they don't.
Well, I don't grant that it's more stable. It could be, it could not be. I have no data on that, and I don't think you do either. But the reality is that if you take two kernels like that and you compare them, you've got to compare them in a level playing field. And if you're taking a bunch of servers and you're running Linux on them, of course they're not going to crash. If you take a Dell server and you run Windows on it in a data center, it's also not going to crash. It only has Microsoft verified code, and it only has Microsoft or Dell certified drivers, and it's on, really good hardware. It'll run forever, just like Linux. Now, the problem is when you've got your video card and your RAID card and, you've got 3 or 4 different vendors all dumping drivers into the system, especially things that are not really mainstream. I'm pretty confident that if there's a bug in the NVIDIA driver that's causing bug checks, I'll hear about it online way before it impacts me personally. So I treat their drivers as, as long as it's been a month or so since they've got released, it's super solid. But if you buy a USB remoting device and it's got to install a driver and the Chinese instructions that don't even tell you what it's doing as it's doing it, except you're improving the driver, and then your machine bug checks, well, that's a little different. So you got to compare which scenario you're actually looking at. And I don't have any data to say that if you're just running a data center and you're doing cloud compute or web serving or database serving, that any one operating system is more robust than the other. I would like to see data if there is. Maybe Gardner Group or somebody like that does collect that data, and I've just never seen it. But the notion that, because Linux is not Windows, it's therefore better and more stable, I think they're both very stable. So,
yeah. Volume-wise, how many sort of Linux operators are there versus Windows system users? Like 2 to 1?
Depends. Well, if you look at the server stuff, Linux dominates. If you look at the desktop, Windows dominates. So there's no Linux on the desktop. And there's a fair amount of Azure compute and stuff in the data center, but there's a lot of Linux in the data center too. So,
okay. Mike Jones says, have you heard John Carmack's recent talk? He's basically, so we're getting the AI stuff. He's basically been spending his time trying to train AI to play video games and said, it's not easy. AI can't do it like we can, but he usually goes low level and figures it out from scratch. And he didn't do that with AI, and even said he was happy to use all those Python libraries. He says maybe that was the difference. It may take a new approach, but I suspect it has something to do with the inability for bits to represent quantum events, randomness, basically, a key to trial and error learning.
Well, I think I have seen some of the stuff John's doing on Twitter. I haven't seen the video yet. But or X, whatever it's called. It's impressive, but they are simpler games, so you can take it at a lower level. When you're doing Pitfall or Pac-Man or something like that, you can take just the video and then start from there. And here's the video, here's the score, make it higher and let it rip. When you're doing Tempest, there's so much going on that it's a much more complex game, and it was not the game to start with. I should have done not tic-tac-toe, but some game that was maybe a little simpler to. And if you look at the Tempest game, it plays up to level 34 very well. So I could say, well, if there were only 34 levels to this game, it would be a massive success at playing Tempest. But unfortunately, there are 85 at least, more like 97 levels. But
And of the human players of Tempest, how many folks are playing that game at a level beyond 34? Again, you don't have it.
I have seen people do it, but I don't know any personally. So
Really? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've never seen any of my friends get there. My wife's not playing at that level. Not my wife plays a lot of Tempest. But, Dave, can we play Tempest again? Come
The
on.
gauntlet has been thrown down. Yeah. Michael Anderson. I have Asperger's and really don't like it when companies change things. I currently have to use Windows 10, but the last Windows version I liked was Windows XP because it was the first one I have ever used. I can function with changes. I just really don't like it. How do I keep from constantly wanting to go back to Windows XP?
I would make an effort to try to master the current system. And that'll do two things. It'll keep you busy. It'll do three things. It'll keep you busy. You'll be using the system a lot and learning, and you will eventually get so used to it that you will forget about Windows XP. Unless it's a terrible system. You know, if Windows 11 is just terrible and you can't stand the start menu, then you'll never prefer it. But I would say that change is hard, especially if you're on the spectrum and you get set in your ways and it's like, you know what, this worked last week and now you've changed it on me and I have no idea why and you're costing me time and it sucks and I hate it. I get the emotion. Do your best to adapt to the newest one because you can't run Windows XP forever. And that'll be less stress for you in the long run.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I know. I mean, I was facing a challenge at work the other day with trying to extract some data and images and writing scripts in Photoshop, and it's one of the more deep dives I've done into AI to try and actually solve a problem for me. I wonder if AI represents an opportunity for folks like that to, I knew how to do this in XP, and I knew where these things were, and maybe he does know how to do it in 10. It's just, it's different and you're not used to it, but that may also help in,
yeah, it's a good point. I spent a lot of my day today asking ChatGPT, particularly questions about NetBSD on the VAX, because I'm used to, modern Linux and I'm used to 2.11 BSD, but NetBSD it's not somewhere in the middle. It's closer to modern than older, but it's different enough that I don't know what I'm doing in a lot of cases. So I spend a lot of my day typing into ChatGPT, hey, how do I hit the F stab in order to turn on async for an NFS share, as an example, was one thing I was doing today. That would have taken me a while to find, and it just spit out the answer. And it's, you go into your F stab and add it after the RW column with a comma. Yeah, so I think AI in that sense is really beneficial.
And like we moved to Windows 11 at work, well, just over the last couple of weeks. In fact, my laptop isn't transitioning until next week. And there's one thing they used to do looking at images, and it does not work the same as it used to. I used to pop up an image from anything, and it contextually knew within what folder I was, and I could go forwards or backwards or up and down and go to the next image.
This blows my mind. Doesn't
and
work
you
on the
can't
Mac
do
either.
that. And I am like, are you kidding me? Like this is probably the most frustrating thing I've ever had in any change. And I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to use Copilot or ChatGPT or Grok or something to find out. There must be a way to change that behavior. I don't know. But as I'm telling this, I'm like,
curious.
I'm going to use this to attack that problem tomorrow because it's annoying the darn heck out of me. But I'm trying to just be, okay, it's new and I'll figure it out and I'll find a way. It's like, no. I'm not going to find a way. Someone needs to tell me the way and that it does exist because I'm going to explode otherwise. It's really annoying.
It blows me away on the Mac. You go into a folder, you open it, get a folder with 50 images in it. You go to the middle image, you double click it, you open it up. Now I want to hit left and right to step through the images. No, that doesn't work. Who would ever think of that? Who kind of nuts would press left and right? It's like, what the heck? I can't believe it doesn't work.
It just pulls out. It's like it just, you want that? I'll extract that file, put it in the Netherlands, not the Netherlands, in nowhere land, and let you see it. But contextually, I have no idea where it came from.
Right. And that's probably the problem. It's launching it, giving it the photo to the viewer, but the viewer doesn't know where the photo came from or what the context was. So. But that doesn't make it better for the user. So I'll stop venting there. But
and I can't believe how frustrated it has been for me. And I'm like, usually, yeah. Anyway, Kidanowicz Says, hey, Dave, do you have the formal or any formal education in computer science? Says, I've done software for more than 15 years, yet I'm an electronics engineer. And
Yes, I got a CS degree in 93. No, when was it? Yeah, 1993. So before the internet, or not before the internet, before the web. Oh yeah, BSc High Honors. Yes. Well, what do they call it in America?
High honors. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Or highest honors. Yes.
I mean, I don't mean it. That's nothing to. Yeah.
If I was smart, I'd know whether that's magna cum laude or summa cum laude, but it's the better one, whichever it is. But we don't use.
Well,
the
you're
Latin in
Canadian.
Canada.
That's why you don't know, because we don't use those terms.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We use the French words. So, yeah, les bons hommes.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the friendly giant guy. Oh no, that's different.
No, that's that scary clown dude in Quebec.
Oh, you're not thinking. Oh, the. Oh right,
Not a politician.
The Fête de Carnaval. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Winter
Carnival
Festival
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Insane Clown Posse for a second there, but that's something totally different.
So, bon homme from Carnival. Both our viewers be impressed that got that reference.
Yes, yeah. Excellent, good man. Sir Mighty Moose, sorry.
Moose.
Dave, have you considered applying to be on Jeopardy?
I have never had the opportunity. A guy that worked for me at Microsoft, Jeffrey, he went and applied, and he wasn't ultimately selected, but he had a good time doing it. I'm afraid that I would get there and, I'd get on the show and I'd be like, all right, Dave. And I'll be Renaissance painting for 1,000, Alex, or Alex is dead, I guess. I wouldn't say that, but whoever's hosting it now.
Oh, it'd be funny if you did though. No,
it's not going to be Microsoft Windows for $4,000 in the category. It's going to be stuff that I don't know. So I have
PDP
holes in my
11s
knowledge when it
for
comes to
500. Yeah.
Art and architecture and stuff I can appreciate, but I just have never been fascinated by them enough to accumulate the type of knowledge you do when it's your special interest. I can tell you every spec about a 69 Camaro, but I can't tell you anything about the Sistine Chapel. So
that's right. Even the firing order of the Pistons, right?
1-843-6572.
Simply Izzy. Wondering if you might want to comment on the approximately 9,000 layoffs that Microsoft is doing and the supposed 14,000 H-1B applications that Microsoft has submitted. So, because you retired 25 years ago. So what's your opinion?
I'm responsible for this.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah, from my understanding, now I got to preface this by saying it doesn't matter what you're doing at a company. If you've been there, especially if you've been there for a while and you get laid off, it sucks. And then going through the job market sucks, and it all just sucks. So I have great sympathy for anybody who's been laid off. But in this case, the two things are unrelated because the 9,000 layoffs, I believe, are predominantly in sales and middle management, and H-1Bs are for technical roles that they can't fill with U.S. applicants. And now you can scoff at the test and say, oh, yeah, I bet they try really hard. But I hired a guy at Microsoft for an H-1B, and it was very hard to prove and document that he was qualified for the job. And then we had to post the job for so many months in different trade magazines and all kinds of things to see if you get domestic applicants. Because ultimately, if you do have a really special requirement, you'll take all the applicants you can get. But it's not like they're hiring guys, from foreign countries under H-1Bs to come in and do sweatshop labor in the basement of Microsoft down with the boiler or whatever. And I don't think there's competition directly between the sales and the technical roles. It's not a zero-sum game in that sense. So, and it's tragic as it is for each individual that's impacted by a layoff in the context of a company that has I don't know what it is now, 300,000 employees or something crazy. 9,000 is what, 3%? Something like that. So when I was there, they had just laid off 10% of the company, and that was a big deal. But it was a smaller company then, of course. But
yeah, I was just going to ask. So what was that number? Do you remember how many?
I think we were around 9,000 at the time, and they laid off around 1,000 people, or close to 1,000.
Wow.
I don't know the numbers because I was just, I heard a lot of conversations in the hallways, and that's what I'm using for
do you
context,
know was there a cause or what that was blamed on? Was it an economic situation going on then or something, or?
I don't know. There was the 87 crash, but that would be 92-ish that they did the layoff. So I don't think so. I think it was just, it was as ruthless as they can't all be golden. So let's get rid of the bottom 5% or something like that. But
yeah, it does suck.
it does. Suck. And I've been fired from jobs too, and I've cried, and it sucks.
I mean, the closest I got is, I mean, I've worked my entire career in municipal government, which is about as secure as you can sort of get. And when, when COVID hit, I think it was, and there's some other economic thing that we actually like they laid off people, like full-time people, and it's like, it was unheard of in, the union ranks for sure of municipal employment, like just unheard of. I think we lost a bunch of capital funding and stuff, and it was, holy cow, like that rocked my world. It didn't impact me. I was fine, but that was like, got my attention, like, oh, this isn't the absolute security. There is no such thing, but so it's crappy. And then moving on here, just here for the lulz, what do you use as an enclosure for the mesmerizer? That's that fancy little device there.
Oh, yeah.
I think you've...
Yeah, the mesmerizer. That's Gamma, I think, is running on yours of taste.
I believe you're correct, sir. Yes.
You can print out a 3D thing if you have a 3D printer. There's a model file on nightdriverled.com, and they're pretty trivial to print out. So print yourself up a frame, or have a friend that has a 3D printer print you one for it. Mesmerizers are available on eBay.
Is there a third option? So if I don't have a 3D printer and I don't have a friend with one, is there somewhere I can send the thing to get 3D printed and they'll send it back to me? Must be somewhere.
Well, if you drive to my house.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Please don't all arrive at once. I only have so much filament. No, don't come to my house.
There must be some service that does it. You can remote 3D print stuff and have it sent to you. I mean, you can get your
I've
PCB
done
boards
PDP
for the darn
11.
thing. Yeah. Right. You did a panel.
My big bezel for the PDP 11, I had 3D printed, and I've had 3 of them done because one broke, and I had to send one to another guy that I sold a panel to, and then I've got one on a panel here, and I had them all done by JLC PCB.
Oh,
so they did a great job.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's the same PCBs folks who did the circuit board for this.
Yes.
Mesmerizer. Yeah. 5654.
I'm always so afraid I'll get those. There's like another company. Something way, and I'm afraid which one is it, man? Which one do I use all the time? Because I know them both.
5654 Martin. Great channel and content, Dave. Let me ask, what are you using as a daily driver system-wise? Windows, Mac, and what are the specs? I know you've talked about this a few times, but maybe Martin's new to this adventure, so you want to give a quick update on what you're running there for
right now my
systems?
daily driver is a VAX 4705A. It's got 112 megahertz processor, and today it got upgraded from 64 to 512 megabytes of RAM.
And what would that have been worth when it was new in 1994, Dave?
According to the price list, about $250,000.
There you go. It's daily driver.
That's with two gigabyte SCSI drives, a lot of RAM, the best CPU. And it would have been fun to have in the day. I didn't have one in the day, but I've got one now, so I live my vicarious youth through the VAX. But no, I assume you're talking about what machines that I actually use for modern stuff. And I have 2 machines that are my daily drivers. I have an M2 Ultra Mac Pro, and I have a fairly old now Threadripper 3270 32 core machine with 128 gigabytes, or 256. No, it's only 128 now one. And it does everything I need Windows to do. It's got a 4080 in it, and yeah, it's probably almost 5 years old now. I don't know how old that machine is. The single thread performance is not great, but I'm mostly doing software compiles and stuff where it spins off 32 or 64 threads, and it's fast in that sense. So it can do a lot of parallel work still.
Yeah, it's at least 4 years old, isn't it?
It is the machine I replaced my i4770K with. So that was like a 4-core chip from a long time ago. So I went right from that to the Threadripper.
Awesome. Paul Burt, in passing on this episode, y'all mentioned the helical lamp in the background. He says, when you introduced it a few years ago, I recognized the supporting hardware is very similar to the RCA-designed FM circularly polarized FM broadcast antenna that was years ago used on many tall TV FM antennas. Kind of curious. Says, care to join me some 1,000 feet above ground to add some LEDs to any remaining antennas? I'm sure the current operators, corporate owners won't mind. So there's a challenge for you.
Well, I'm not afraid of heights as long as I'm roped in securely, but I am lazy. So is there an elevator? So I'm not climbing no 1,000-foot tower. I don't have the cardio for that probably
If they dangled you from a helicopter, would you do it?
I'm more scared of helicopters than I am of antennas. So the worst thing is helicopters near antennas. That's bad.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, like those videos of those guys working the high voltage lines from, getting dropped
that's
down
cool.
from, yeah, neat. Most of them tend to be Japanese for some reason, the videos that I've seen, but not sure why.
Really?
Yeah.
They got
William,
like mountainous country.
yeah. And then the big chainsaw that cuts the trees for the power lines in the forest.
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
crazy.
Those are, yeah. We could go on. William Sudbrink. Way back in the day, a couple of other developers and I made our first visit to Microsoft headquarters for an early multimedia conference, if he remembers correctly. He says, while we were there, we made a special trip to get a meal at Burger Master. You ever eat there?
I have. I took my daughter there last year because she'd never been to a drive-in restaurant, where you drive in and they come out and you have the little food thing and they take your order and bring your tray.
Like the one you met your wife.
Yeah, that's where I met my wife, A&W. She was a waitress at A&W. And then I married her. And so I thought it'd be cute for her to see what that environment was. We went and got a burger there. So it used to be next door to, well, it still is in the place that was formerly Microsoft's headquarters. There are parts of Windows called Burger Masters. So in the internal code, not in the public API.
Okay.
But so in the internal Windows code, there are structures called Burger Masters, and they actually had their phone extension wired into Microsoft. So they were like a 5-digit extension on everybody's phone. You could order burgers, which I kind of would miss. I mean, it's before my time. So,
yeah. And it's like a car hop place then. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Like an A&W in Canada.
Yeah,
the old
drive-in diner. Yeah. Wow. Drive. Yep. Cool. Last couple of questions here. Keto Miner says the second guy, I guess that's me, is AI, right? If not, he's very good as acting as one.
Well, at least it's intelligence,
Is that a? But it's artificial. I mean, it's fake intelligence. So I'll take that as a backhanded compliment.
That's how I take it. There you go.
And however, to prove that I am not AI, or I'm not smarter than AI, that's for darn sure. Last time I'd mentioned that I picked up some of your swag from your merch line there. So I've got the shirt in the closet. I was going to wear the shirt today. I thought, a little too early. But I did mention I got the hat, which is behind me on the shelf. I don't know if you folks can see.
Oh, cool. And we resolved that the binary is in fact correct, right?
Yeah, I'd taken a picture of it and I threw it into Chat GPT or Grok or something. Like, what's it saying? I said, oh, binary again. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would it say that? And I mentioned it last time and a couple of people corrected it. And Larry Kamens said, oh, Glenn, the binary on the hat is correct. The coded image, and he gave me the translation. So he's got the DAVES, but I assumed it went column wise. That's how I would have tried to figure it out, but it goes left, right, left, right, left, right. So it's DAVES space GARAGE. So it is correct.
I got it backwards too, because I was looking at it and I was going down by column, right? And I know A is the binary pattern for A. And the last two were A. I'm like, oh, they typoed in. Instead of AGE, it was AAE on the hat. And I'm like, oh, that's screwed. And I showed it to my wife, and she's like, oh, no, we'll have to tell Brooklyn, who designed the hat, and Stephen, who published the hat on the line. And then she realized that, no, it goes the other way. So she had to figure it out for me.
Yeah. So my bad. I had, sort of hastily taken a picture and put it in. And I don't know, maybe I probably used Grok, and it was probably trying to be funny.
Just being clever, yeah.
And I just... oh, it's AI. I sent it a picture. It is correct. So again, it was a good lesson for me of, oh, you dummy. Like, don't just believe the first thing you get or the first answer, or just, I put it into AI. I mean, it was a photograph taken with my phone of a curved hat. I don't know if it even got the binary correct in there, but yeah. So, but it's good. A couple of people called me out on it. We got it. It is correct. And I'm sure when I mentioned it, Dave started to sort of sweat a little bit, and then it ran through your whole family because your wife's worried, and your daughter who did it, and your son who set the shop up. So everybody was in panic mode. And I'm like, whoops. Yeah, I should have said something earlier. Double check my own work. So a bit of a lesson for me.
Good. And I'll put a link to the merch store in the video description so you can check it out.
Yeah, I think last time you said you were going to do that too, and then a friend of mine was watching the video. It's like, there's no link to the merch store. So I mentioned, I think you popped it in late, but again, it's mostly subs and likes. That stuff's just, that's for other people if they're interested. There it is. So anyway, that's all I got for you this week, Dave. So I'll hand it back to you to close things up.
All right. Well, thank you, Glenn, and thanks to the audience. Please make sure you're subscribed to the show if you want to see another episode, because it might be hard to find otherwise. This is a small channel with 40-some thousand subscribers, and we'd love it if you would be the 40,000th and one plus whatever offset that I'm wrong by. So thanks for joining us tonight, and I'll see you next time right here in Shop Talk. This little chair will be waiting for one of you, and a rocking chair for another who likes to rock, and a big armchair for two to curl up in. All next time on Dave's Garage.